There's only one day a year where all 32 fan bases have hope for the future, Draft Day. Since 1936, this annual event has changed the lives of players, shifted the courses of franchises, and redefined the league as we know it. But what if these thousands of selections played out differently? Today, we break down the top 10 what-ifs in NFL draft history. Number 10. What if Bo Jackson decides to play with the Bucs?
And Bo Jackson to the 20 and out in front, and only one man to beat, and easily can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo. He may not stop till Tacoma.
Bo Jackson's entire sports career is surrounded by what-ifs. The 1985 Heisman winner was one of the greatest college players ever and also a top prospect in baseball. When the struggling Buccaneers called his name first in the 1986 draft, Jackson used his unique leverage and refused to sign with Tampa. Jackson instead pursued a career in the MLB, signing with the Kansas City Royals. When the 1987 draft came around the following year, Bo was once again eligible to be selected since he never signed with the Bucs. Raiders owner Al Davis was known to think outside the box and took him in the 7th round. Davis was open to the running back playing both sports, joining Los Angeles when baseball season ended.
Buffalo ahead of Miami in the East, and now the Raiders, can they stay with Kansas City, and can Denver stay with Bo Jackson? The answer is no! Bo has another!
Bo was spectacular as a part-time player, averaging over 5 yards a carry before a career-ending hip injury. But what if Jackson turned down the opportunity to play in major league ballparks and instead fully committed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? One of the world's all-time great athletes and Steve Young under center would certainly be enough to turn the franchise around, right? Instead, the Bucs finished with the fewest rushing touchdowns in the league from 1986 to 1990, and to make matters worse, Tampa shipped off Young to the 49ers in 1987. The franchise didn't see a winning season until the late 90s.
And Bo sort of twisted as he went down. He's hurt.
While impossible to know for sure, Bo could have avoided the catastrophic injury in the 1990 divisional round. An injury-free Jackson that was committed to football year-round is a scary thought for opposing defenses, as the back had the potential to become a perennial All-Pro. Number 9. What if Dan Marino didn't slide in 1983? It's the most famous draft in history. The class featured 8 future Hall of Famers and notably had 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. The last one picked was some guy named Dan Marino, and he threw for more yards and touchdowns than any of them.
The Raiders 4, low snap again. Here's Marino, wide open field, throws for a touchdown, and there's the record. That's number 37, and he threw it to Jimmy Cephalo.
Marino's arm talent and numbers in college should have garnered a much higher draft pick, but rumors of partying and drug use scared off teams from making the Pitt quarterback the face of their franchise. With his illustrious career now in the history books, many now ask, what if Marino didn't slide? The Raiders and Steelers were potential pairings that would have drastically changed the course of the NFL over the next 2 decades. The sun was setting on Terry Bradshaw's legendary career in Pittsburgh. What better way to succeed him than taking the hometown kid?
It would be nice to play in Pittsburgh because I have a lot of family there now, and I've been playing there all my life, but it might not be realistic either.
Instead, they opted for D-tackle Gabe Rivera, a successor to Mean Joe Green. Rivera would go on to only play 6 career games before a tragic car accident left him paralyzed. Los Angeles had the pick right before Miami and drafted center Don Mosbar. If Marino becomes a member of either prestigious franchise, his career could have played out much differently. Maybe Marino secures the ring that eluded him in Miami. The Steelers would go on to be in quarterback purgatory for the next 20 years. They reached Super Bowl 30 on the backs of a shutdown defense, yet 2 costly picks by Neil O'Donnell prevented them from hoisting the Lombardi. Imagine Marino and Marcus Allen in the same backfield. The Raiders won it all in 1983, but once Jim Plunkett was out the door, the Silver and Black could no longer capitalize on a great roster due to inconsistencies behind center. Number 8. What if the Bears draft Patrick Mahomes in 2017?
First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City!
Look away, Bears fans. It's the most talked about draft what if today. In 2017, Chicago was determined to take their signal caller of the future, even trading away a first rounder to move up from the 3rd to the 2nd pick.
The Chicago Bears select Mitchell Trubisky, quarterback, North Carolina.
The selection was not Patrick Mahomes, but Mitchell Trubisky, who started in only 13 college games at North Carolina. Kansas City famously traded up from 27 to 10 to get their guy, marking the beginning of the NFL's most recent dynasty. Trubisky's tenure in the Windy City was shaky to say the least. He never won a playoff game and was off the roster after 4 seasons. Chicago then drafted Justin Fields in 2021, and he started even fewer games before being shipped off to Pittsburgh. Caleb Williams may end up being the franchise guy, but it's still way too early to call.
He's looking to the left side. He throws it left-handed to Tyreek Hill. A first down.
Pressure now on Mahomes. He's in trouble. Now gets it away. Are you kidding me?
Looking to the end zone for the win. He caught it. Ball game. Chiefs to the championship game.
On the other side, Patrick Mahomes is already considered an all-time great. He threw for 50 touchdowns in his first season as a starter, has made the AFC Championship in 7 straight seasons, and won 3 Super Bowls. The Chiefs did not even appear in a Super Bowl since the 1969 season before 2019. Now you might as well rename it the Kansas City Invitational. Now, without Mahomes, is Andy Reid still considered a great yet ringless head coach? Does Travis Kelce still have the legacy he does? Keep in mind, the showman only had 22 career touchdowns before Mahomes took the starting role.
And, he hits the upright again! That's impossible!
Could Patrick Mahomes be enough to take the Bears to a deeper playoff run in 2018? Sure, the offensive weapons were no Hill and Kelce, but Khalil Mack and the Bears were shutting down opposing offenses. On top of that, Bears coach Matt Nagy already had a relationship with Mahomes, being the offensive coordinator of Kansas City when he was a rookie. Chicago has a long way to go to have a repeat of 1985 and would likely have been a city of champions if they had just took a different quarterback in 2017. Throughout this countdown, there will be no position featured more than the quarterback. They are the most important and recognizable players on the field, so it makes sense that quarterbacks swapping teams would create a ripple effect like no other. What if Andrew Luck declared for the draft in 2011?
Andrew Luck was a dominant player in college who excelled in every aspect of the quarterback position.
He's a great competitor, had the intangibles. Coming from the pro-style system and winning the amount of games that he won, the bowl games that they won, is exactly what you need under center.
Andrew Luck is considered one of the most revered prospects of the 21st century. This led to many scratching their heads when the Stanford phenom decided to return for his junior season rather than declaring for the 2011 draft. If he decided to enter the league that year, he would have been a shoo-in for the number 1 pick held by Carolina. Do the Colts stick with Peyton Manning? If they do, Denver can likely kiss their 2 AFC titles and 2015 Super Bowl goodbye. How do we look back at Manning's career with just 1 ring?
Newton up the middle.
Oh, did he accelerate? How about, oh my goodness! Touchdown, Auburn!
Ponder this. What if the Broncos took Cam Newton at number 2 in 2011? There's no question Von Miller was a phenomenal pick for them, but with John Elway coming in as director of player personnel, it's possible he veers from Tim Tebow. We know Elway was never high on the 2010 first rounder. Maybe Cam wins Super Bowl 50 as Broncos quarterback. Teams like the 49ers and Vikings were also searching for a franchise QB, and either could have been his eventual landing spot. Could you imagine a Super Cam Adrian Peterson Reed option? Or maybe the Harbaugh-Newton combo gets the Niners over the hump between 2011 and 2013. Number 7. What if Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White were teammates?
Yeah, you mine, baby.
Reggie got him again! They got him again! Back at the 20. Hello, Reggie.
This pairing would have been straight unfair. Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor are widely considered as the best defenders in NFL history, and there was a real possibility that the two became teammates. White was a member of the dwindling USFL in 1984, and that year the NFL had a supplemental draft with all of the league's players available for the taking. The Giants owned the 3rd overall pick, with the Minister of Defense still on the board. New York heavily considered drafting White.
I know I had a particular interest in Reggie White, but we wound up taking Zimmerman.
But instead, the Giants selected offensive tackle and future Hall of Famer Gary Zimmerman, but he never played a snap for Big Blue. With just Lawrence Taylor, the Giants still captured 2 Super Bowls on the back of their vaunted front 7, but if they take White, maybe New York is the team of the 80s rather than San Francisco. Combined, the two amassed 330.5 sacks throughout their careers. Defensive mastermind Bill Belichick would have been spoiled with talent, ruining opposing quarterbacks Sundays for a decade with this duo.
Reggie White put another one of those bull rush moves on Larry Allen.
Patrick, again, it's that right arm. See, when Larry Allen picks that left foot up, that's when Reggie does it.
Fast forward a bit, would White still sign a free agent deal with Green Bay in 1993? With all the potential success he'd have in New York, maybe he stays put and forms a ferocious pass rush duo with Michael Strahan. Or perhaps White inks a deal with the Browns in 93, then coached by Belichick. Does Cleveland's playoff campaign in 1994 turn into a Super Bowl run? Number 6. What if the 49ers draft Aaron Rodgers in 2005? There may be no draft day stranger than the one for Aaron Rodgers. Long in discussion with Alex Smith for the number 1 selection, Rodgers not only didn't get picked first, but he fell all the way to 24.
And a lot of people did not have Aaron Rodgers as a top 10 quarterback. He has flaws. He has blemishes.
The Green Bay Packers select Aaron Rodgers, quarterback from California.
Smith's career in San Francisco was far from perfect, winning just 19 starts through his first 6 seasons. However, the 49ers brought it all together in 2011, finishing 13-3 en route to the NFC Championship.
Smith on 3rd down. He will take it himself for a 1st down and more. Alex Smith is in. Touchdown.
The following year, Smith started 9 games before getting injured and witnessed Colin Kaepernick lead the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance and take his starting role.
Rodgers in trouble. It's going to get there. He turned 32 yesterday. Does he have a vintage moment in him? In the end zone, it is caught for the win. A game ender for the Packers.
As for Mr. Discount Double Check, he did just fine in Green Bay, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Rodgers won 4 MVPs, has the highest passer rating in NFL history, and brought a Lombardi trophy back to Titletown. If there was a stain on Rodgers' career, it is ironically his 0-4 record in the playoffs against the 49ers, who passed on him back in 2005. So if Rodgers went 1st overall instead of Smith, what happens? In this scenario, Smith falls to the pack, now learning under Brett Favre, and Rodgers is thrown on the field right away. The 49ers roster was still not a good one back in 2005, so it may take longer for the quarterback to get comfortable and succeed in the Bay. Once Rodgers is paired with Harbaugh, is he enough to get San Fran over the hump from 2011 to 2013? With Alex Smith having the benefit of sitting the bench for 3 seasons, does he develop into a much better quarterback with Mike McCarthy? If he remains the same, Super Bowl 45 is not represented by the Cheeseheads, but by the Chicago Bears. Somehow, once again, the Bears drew the short straw in a draft day what if. Could you imagine Jay Cutler with a Super Bowl victory on his resume? Number 5. What if the Colts draft Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning in 1998?
Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. Both have potential to be stars for a long, long time. Do you have a preference?
Ryan Leaf brings just a ton of natural talent. What you get from Peyton Manning right now is a wonderful, polished athlete. Both of them bring a lot of assets to this table. I think both will fit very well with the team that they wind up with.
With the benefit of hindsight, this could very well be the funniest draft day debate in history. Okay, Colts fans, you need a quarterback, and your options are one of the greatest quarterbacks the game has ever seen, or maybe the biggest draft bust in history. It's ridiculous to look back at it now, but in 1998, the question of Manning or Leaf was legit. Manning was considered by many the best college prospect since John Elway. The Tennessee Volunteer amazed scouts with accuracy and IQ rarely seen at the collegiate level. Leaf was coming out of Washington State, and his live arm and large frame had front offices reconsidering if Peyton was really the best quarterback available.
The thing about Ryan Leaf is he brings a swagger to the game. There's an upside to Ryan Leaf that nobody's quite sure of. The only question you have is how long is it going to take for him to be able to be comfortable at this level?
The Colts ultimately made the right decision drafting their franchise GOAT. Manning won a Super Bowl for the city and broke endless passing records along the way. Leaf went second overall to San Diego, and he completely flopped.
Leaf inside his 5. Let's go, and it's intercepted. And it's Percy Ellsworth with his second interception. It is a touchdown for the Giants.
The draft bust had a record of 4-14 with the Chargers and was out of the league by 2002. If Indy did the unthinkable and drafted Leaf, needless to say, it would have been an unmitigated disaster. The franchise is still probably looking for its first title since 1970, and we may never witness the true greatness of Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne without a competent passer. For the Chargers, while Manning definitely changes the culture, it means they probably don't play themselves into a top 5 pick in 2001. No Tomlinson and definitely no Breeze as those future stars end up elsewhere. It also reroutes Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, but more on them later. Chargers fans would no doubt still take this deal, but it drastically shifts the careers of NFL legends. When it comes to what ifs, maybe no team has been in more draft hypotheticals than the boys down in Big D. Here's a trio of honorable mentions that just missed the cut. What if the Cowboys drafted Walter Payton? Holding the second overall pick in 1975, Dallas had glaring needs in the backfield and on the defensive line. Available for the taking was Jackson State back Walter Payton, who went on to rush for the most yards in the history of football.
Quick pitch to Walter, looking for the record, cuts back, he's got it with a 25 to the 26-yard line. Walter Payton becomes the National Football League all-time leading rusher, surpassing Jim Brown, and that's the equivalent to Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's all-time home run record.
We can't make fun of Dallas too much here as they drafted Randy White instead, who himself earned a gold jacket. But man, oh man, imagine Sweetness with a star on his helmet. Perhaps the 75 Cowboys get the best of Pittsburgh in Super Bowl X, Peyton's rookie season. Suddenly, the team of the 70s is up for debate. This potential selection also results in Tony Dorsett finding a new home, with Dallas having no need for a running back in 1977. What if the Cowboys drafted Johnny Manziel? Sometimes the what if takes a franchise down a darker path, and it certainly would have here. In 2014, Jerry Jones was enthralled by the idea of selecting the Texas A&M legend Johnny Manziel in the first round, but the team instead pivoted to the less flashy Zach Martin, who in turn went on to have a Hall of Fame-worthy career on the offensive line. While Manziel, well, let's just say his career did not live up to expectations.
A lot of time. Stepping up, in trouble, gets away, slings it end zone in traffic, intercepted by Jones. Ill-advised throw.
If Dallas takes Manziel in 2014, do they end up selecting Dak Prescott 2 years later, or does the Mississippi State man end up being a draft day steal for another team? What if the Cowboys drafted Randy Moss?
The Minnesota Vikings have selected wide receiver from Marshall University, Randy Moss.
This one still stings for Cowboy supporters. In 1998, Dallas had a chance to find their successor to Michael Irvin and immediately regretted the decision to do otherwise. Jerry Jones' squad had the 8th overall pick, with draft analysts and fans alike pairing Moss with the Cowboys. The Marshall standout was one of the most electrifying players in all of college football. Due to character concerns, Jones passed on the wideout, instead drafting defensive end Greg Ellis. The Vikings stole Moss Moss with the 21st pick, and he of course went on to have an all-time rookie season. 17 touchdowns, including 3 on Thanksgiving against the team that passed on him.
Cowboys showing blitz. Minnesota hits Randy Moss, breaks a tackle, and Randy Moss races down the sideline, and Randy Moss just outruns everybody into the end zone.
If Moss is a Cowboy, the legendary 1998 Vikings offense does not come to be. Could Moss's presence extend the career of Troy Aikman, ushering in one last 90s title run for America's team? Tragically for Dallas, they missed out on another Hall of Fame receiver 13 years earlier. Number 4, what if the 49ers don't trade up for Jerry Rice in 1985?
The greatest receiver of all times.
Rice is behind everybody. He's got it. Touchdown 49ers.
He may have been the greatest football player, professional of all time.
Pass, though, is complete to Jerry Rice. He's ahead of everybody. Goodbye. Touchdown, Jerry Rice, number 5.
Can you imagine a reality where Jerry Rice does not don the red and gold? Bill Walsh and the Niners had to maneuver their way around to select the Mississippi Valley State product. San Francisco was in the market for a wideout and traded up from pick 28 to 16 for an opportunity to take one. But Rice wasn't even their first choice.
Bill Walsh said that he would trade the first 3 rounds of his first 3 rounds of the draft to get Eddie Brown. Well, here he is. He's got a shot.
Originally, Walsh was more interested in receiver Eddie Brown, but with the Bengals taking him at 13, the 49ers had to adjust their plans and settled for Rice. Not a bad backup option.
And they're going to go his way. And he's got the record.
But who was the team picking right after San Francisco in the '85 draft? You guessed it, the Dallas Cowboys, who were also targeting Rice. So what if the 49ers had stayed put at pick 28, leaving Dallas to get the wide receiver of their dreams?
Taylor and Rice. The throw is to Rice. Touchdown.
First, it's entirely possible the 49ers don't win back-to-back Lombardis in the late 80s. Rice's heroic efforts in Super Bowl 23 earned him MVP honors, and San Fran doesn't win without him. On the flip side, with Rice now in Dallas, are the Cowboys in need of another receiver with the 11th pick in 1988? Maybe Michael Irvin becomes the playmaker elsewhere.
Troy Aikman, quarterback, UCLA.
Going even further, does Dallas struggle enough to draft Troy Aikman first overall in 1989? Let's say they do end up with those 2 future Hall of Famers and Emmitt Smith. Now we're talking about the greatest offensive collection ever. The Cowboys would have taken over the entire decade, likely halting another 49ers Super Bowl win in 1994. In terms of GOAT conversations, does Rice get the opportunities to break all those records, sharing touches with Irvin and Emmitt? If Montana finishes with only 2 Lombardis, does Aikman then become the best QB ever? The wild card here? How about New England, who picked up the phone and accepted San Francisco's offer all those years back? Number 3, what if John Elway stays with the Colts in 1983?
Hopes for a successful season were dashed in the coming weeks. The Baltimore Colts embarked on the longest losing streak in team history, 14 games.
There was a time when the most dysfunctional franchise in all pro football lived in Baltimore. After the departure of Johnny Unitas, the Colts struggled to find a long-term successor behind center, but they finally had reason for hope in the spring of 1983. Baltimore secured the first overall pick, and waiting for them was the most hyped prospect maybe ever. The only problem was John Elway wanted nothing to do with them.
I said, I don't want to be a jerk or anything about it. That we've been telling you for 3 months that I'm not going to play in Baltimore, and right now you have nothing. And then I hung the phone up.
The Stanford product threatened to play baseball with the New York Yankees if drafted by the Colts. With their hands tied, Baltimore eventually gave in and sent Elway to Denver. In the deal, the Colts received quarterback Mark Herman, offensive lineman Chris Hinton, and used the first-round pick they acquired on another offensive lineman.
The snap to Elway. The look, the throw, touchdown! John Elway has just thrown the touchdown to Mark Jackson, 5 yards, 98.5-yard drive.
Through Elway's elite play, the Broncos reached 5 Super Bowls, including winning back-to-back titles in '97 and '98. During the span of his career, the Colts won just 38% of their games. It's safe to say who came out on top in this trade.
This one's for John.
But what if Elway stayed with the Colts? Of course, the Broncos' success throughout the 80s and 90s would have taken a massive drop-off, especially if they end up with the second QB taken in 1983, one Todd Blackledge. Could we have seen the Browns, who lost to Elway 3 times in the AFC Championship, play in and even win a Super Bowl?
There's a new team in town. In the heart of downtown Indianapolis lies a new symbol of the city's dynamic growth.
In 1984, owner Robert Irsay infamously relocated from Baltimore, leaving in the middle of the night to make the move to Indianapolis. If Elway was showing promise and the Colts were on the up and up, does the franchise still switch cities? And equally important, with Elway still in the league until 1998, the team likely does not have the first overall pick in the draft that year. So you could kiss goodbye to Peyton Manning as well.
The Colts are world champions!
With all this in mind, football fans in Indy should probably be thankful Elway refused to play all those years ago. Number 2. What if Joe Namath signs with the Cardinals?
The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today.
While other what-ifs in the top 10 had the potential to change franchises, this one could have altered the entire sport as we know it. In 1965, the St. Louis Cardinals used their first-round pick to draft Alabama quarterback Joe Namath, but the gunslinger instead elected to start his career in Gotham City with the AFL's Jets. Broadway Joe became an instant icon, winning the franchise's only championship in Super Bowl III. The upset win was a major factor in merging the NFL and AFL in 1970. So, what if Namath chose the NFL?
Namath's arm was in mint condition. In 1965, he was named AFL Rookie of the Year, and 2 years later, he became the first quarterback in either league to throw for 4,000 yards.
We'll start on the less drastic side of this scenario, as Namath and the St. Louis Cardinals would actually be a sneaky good pairing. The same year the quarterback won Super Bowl MVP, St. Louis was a top 5 team in the league. Replacing then quarterback Jim Hart with a future Hall of Famer puts the Cardinals in serious contention. Now, for the real domino effect, if Namath decides to play in St. Louis, the Jets wouldn't make the Super Bowl in 1968. A Colts victory would mark a 3-0 record for the NFL in the big game. Then Commissioner Pete Rozelle was already debating bringing an end to the Super Bowl experiment, and this could have been the final straw.
There was talk after the first 2 Super Bowls that maybe it wasn't such a good idea bringing the schedules together. People saying maybe the AFL isn't up to this.
You lose 3 times in a row, Jack. Excuse me, you're out of the room. If we don't win this time, we're going to be second class from now on.
The AFL then goes under, much like the USFL 2 decades later. Franchises like the Raiders, Chiefs, and Patriots are now erased from professional football. America's top-rated sporting event ceases to exist, wiping out some of the greatest moments in sports history.
Back to throw Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown, 49ers! Taylor has it for the touchdown!
Now throws it deep downfield. Wide open Tyree, who makes the catch.
Malcolm Butler stepped in front of the throw.
No way!
Can you imagine a world where there is no Super Bowl and 10 fewer teams in the NFL? That very well could have been the reality if Joe Namath had a change of heart in 1965. What if the Bears win the coin flip for the number 1 pick in 1970 instead of the Steelers? 5 years after Namath signing with the Jets, there was another battle between 2 teams over the top quarterback in the draft.
Here is Bradshaw. Fathered from behind. Lynn Swann is open. Got it. Steeler touchdown.
The 1970 NFL Draft can be characterized as the Terry Bradshaw sweepstakes, and there were two teams vying for the quarterback's services, Pittsburgh and Chicago. What made this situation so complex is that both teams tied for the worst record in football, and there was no on-field tiebreaker that settled who got the first pick in the draft. As an alternative, the league held a coin toss, and Pittsburgh's win reshaped the NFL for a decade.
Deep for Stallworth.
What a catch!
Oh! Touchdown for the Steelers.
That's one of the great catches you'll ever see.
If the Bears won the toss instead of the Steelers, there's a chance the dynasty never comes to be. In reality, Bradshaw and the Steel Curtain won 4 Super Bowls in the span of 6 years, while the Bears are still searching for a Hall of Fame signal caller. Number 1. What if Eli Manning stayed with the Chargers in 2004? The king of draft hypotheticals. We have the runaway storyline of the Chargers and Giants swapping quarterbacks at the top of the draft. Old Miss phenom and consensus number 1 ranked prospect Eli Manning had made it pretty clear he'd refuse to play for San Diego if the Bolts took him number 1.
Why don't you want to play for the Chargers?
We're not really giving details right now. We've made our decision, and that's what we're sticking to.
If the Chargers call your name when I talk to you after the pick, will you be wearing a Chargers hat?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
With the first choice in the 2004 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Eli Manning, cornerback, Mississippi.
Clearly, Manning's position had no effect on the Chargers, who selected him first overall. The next hour was tense, to say the least.
The Giants confirmed to us from their draft room that if Phillip Rivers was sitting at number 4, there would be discussions with the San Diego Chargers that the Giants would take Rivers and then swap quarterbacks with the Chargers.
With the 4th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Phillip Rivers, quarterback, North Carolina State.
What have you been hearing? What are the teams telling you?
Well, I hadn't gotten a call yet from anybody. I'm just excited, as of right now, to be a Giant.
San Diego Chargers and the New York Giants have exchanged their draft picks, Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers.
Despite their roller coaster introductions to the NFL, both quarterbacks found success in their own way following the trade. Manning and Rivers played a combined 33 seasons of football and threw for over 120,000 yards combined. Manning's legacy will always be the guy who took 2 rings away from Tom Brady. Despite a .500 record as a starter, Eli will forever be a legend in the Big Apple.
Touchdown Giants! And that is it. The New York Giants have knocked off the New England Patriots with the most improbable win in recent memory.
Rivers rode the bench early on in San Diego, but maybe he learned a thing or two from Drew Brees. In terms of pure passing, Rivers outperformed Manning throughout their careers. The North Carolina State product threw for more yards and touchdowns with a superior record as a starter. Rivers, though, was unable to bring home the ultimate prize, falling short of Manning and fellow 2004 QB Ben Roethlisberger in that aspect.
It's going to be an off-season of wondering what if.
Well, and more than that, I think, what could have been.
So what if Eli stayed with the Chargers? With 2 polarizing quarterbacks swapping teams, it's tough to say which franchise would come out on top. One franchise surely in favor of this swap would be the New England Patriots, 2-time Super Bowl losers to the Manning-led Giants. Tom Brady could have 9 rings to his name, along with an undefeated season in 2007. Or would Phillip Rivers come through with New York and have his legacy altered with a pair of Lombardi trophies? Could playoff Eli overcome the Chargers' snake-bitten history? In the 2007 AFC Championship, do the undefeated Pats still make the big game against a San Diego team led by Manning? Maybe we even get some brother versus brother playoff games with Peyton and Eli now in the same conference. Would either quarterback be a step closer to receiving a bust in Canton? We will never know for sure, but it is always fun to look back and ask, what if?